Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about um, family, the cultivation of health, especially mental health, for the men in the family, and we're going to look at how parenting plays out in this situation. Now, parenting has been done every way possible, and history can prove this, and it always creates a diverse amount of people with different passions and understandings. Now, is there a way of parenting that's generally best? Can we create a great individual uh, from how we parent and assist the child throughout life? This is kind of a yes and a no. There is no perfect way, in a sense. We don't know how the children will turn out. We do know, however, that there are a couple moral things that'll make a huge difference in their kind of experience of what a healthy life is like, and that we do um, kind of bequeath to our children our way of life and seeing life. And in that way, they start to explore it and go through life through our vision of what should be done. And this is often why, as a kid, you say, "Oh, I'm never going to be like my mom or my dad." And then you become older and you end up acting pretty much exactly like your mom and your dad. That's because they've given you their way of viewing life. Even though you might do certain things a little bit different or be more conscious of these things, because they are parenting you and you're not the parent, so you're experiencing them um, until you have children, and then your children experience you. This is kind of the way it's passed down. So, that being said, one of the moral things I want to set out as a rule, especially in self care, is that a person is experienced. Therefore, each individual uh, person has a feeling attached to being around them, being with them, or being associated with them. This feeling is generally the first thing somebody interacts with, depending on how good they are emotionally and the time that they take to actually understand the person. They'll get a greater sense of what the feeling is like being around an individual. Now, that all being said, children generally grow up with the understanding of emotions first. They really have to deal with the emotions of the parents and how they feel, and the children are very extremely expressive of how they feel, and then it changes as they grow. Now, that all being aside, that's a little background information. As an adult parenting, you will mess it up. The idea is that regardless of how you try your best to raise your child, the greater thing that is going to be on your plate later on in life is correcting your, let's say, missteps in parenting. So when your child becomes 26, 27, around that age, maybe in the 30s, now it's your job to see the errors of how you raise the child and provide them with the support needed to get through life's challenge. Hopefully, throughout this time, you've been able to keep a good relationship with the child. That makes it a lot easier to have an influence on them and to teach them from that standpoint. So, as an adult, as a young adult, in a way, having your first child, you're going to make your mistakes. As you become older, you're going to be able to see, well, you know what, maybe I was a little too harsh on that. Maybe I tried to make them too sports oriented. Maybe I didn't support them enough in their passion of gem collecting. Um, all these kind of things will be a little bit more clear to you because their personality will be more developed and you'll see the outcome of that style of parenting. Now, on top of that, when you see the outcome, the idea is not to force your opinion on them, but to quietly guide them kind of from the sidelines. When they meet their challenges, you now input that feeling that should have been there when they were younger. So, again, if my passion was gem collecting, I'm now 27 and you are my parent, and you know that you weren't as supportive as you should have been. Then now, when I show, hey, you know what, I found this new cool gem, the response shouldn't be the old, well, maybe there's a better job you can make money at. Uh, it should be more like, I'm really proud of you for following your passion. I wish I did that when I was younger. And I'm starting to get a little bit of this thing, this gem collecting. Can you explain it more to me? This essentially is always a style of belief in the individual, and also a kind of uh, interest in the thing. And actually asking for advice on that thing from the child, again, is a nice way of empowering them to kind of see the value in their perspective. Now, this is if all things are going positive, but what if your child is kind of more acting out and, being more, let's say, against the law or participating in more rough behavior? This, again, is not accomplished by being rough and tough. So, you need to get your head together and start being a contributing member of society and being logical with them. That isn't particularly going to be helpful. It's best to just kind of be there in the sense of this quiet support, and if they need a little help, help them out, and see what's making them react against society in a way. Always, everybody wants to be loved and accepted, and this is why people have families and have children, have pets. All these things are a way of feeling accepted and appreciated for oneself. Now, if you can pull out a good trait out of the child, say, you're very determined, and I see that, and I just think you're going in the wrong way. I'm not telling you to change, but I think, you should really follow this passion, and I'll be happy to support you and help you in that direction. Now, not always does that work out, but even if it fails, again, you're putting out the effort, understanding, belief, and caring into that individual, and that will make a change eventually. Maybe when they, life does the changing for them, or maybe they'll see it a little bit later on in life. Who knows? But the idea is that we want to be there to support from the sidelines, make a hard stand if you have to. You need to make these changes. It's very important. But at the end of the day, after that stern talking to, it is love, affection, caring, and understanding after that. It's good to make sure you make a position on what should be done, because they're always going to look up to you regardless of if they say so or not. And even if they don't, they say, I hate my dad, I hate my mom. Essentially, for them to hate you means that they care about you anyway. If they didn't care, they'd have no feelings towards you. Generally, hate is a feeling of them letting down the parent not supporting them in a way, and them feeling lost, right? And if you trace it back, most things start that way. Or too high of expectation on the child, them not doing good. Again, it's a style of not feeling worthy, therefore this whole thing kind of happens. But ideally, the strength of our character to be there and see our own mistakes as parents represented in the children, and not just taking the same old stand that we normally would do, but taking a new stand from a new perspective of having a little bit more wisdom and knowing that we too are children and we need to grow as parents, and that growth is always in improving ourselves so we can be better for the people around us, not improving other people outside of us so they can be better for themselves. There's a little hypocrisy in that, and doesn't ring as true as the quiet confidence of being that person by example, and therefore somebody following after you and looking up to you and respecting you in a way. And at some point, you should teach your children the harshness of life and what it's really going to take, and helping out through that challenge, but pointing out that it is a challenge and there's things that they do need to learn, and this thing will make it easier for them. They could take it or leave it, but at the end of the day, you are still their caring parental figure, and that's very important. So that's a little bit of parenting. Mental health is very strongly rooted in what I've been saying. And again, this is a new process for a lot of adults. Back in the day, we had strong morals and perspective of things kind of built into the system of how we live life, mainly from church or culture or these kind of belief style things. They're not as prevalent as they used to be, and the major culture is not necessarily adhering to those things. So the cost of this generally is the loss of moral kind of orientation in a way. How do I stand on this position? What should I do? Although equally there's new things, new ways of viewing things, and more expression and more emotional attachments and energies and that kind of thing. This is still a new realm for us to navigate. We don't have all the skills there. So even though we are doing that, it's very important to still have our strong kind of center, our groundedness. Thank you very much, and have a great day.